It's a year since Iceland's economy was decimated by the crisis. It dodged bankruptcy then, but 12 months on with its banking industry on its knees, Iceland's struggling. The country's business Vikings are reeling from one of the biggest national economic crashes of modern times. Elliott Gotkine reports.
Bloomberg's special report on the market crisis.
A year ago, Iceland was a small island in big trouble. Glitnir Bank failed just weeks after Lehman Brothers collapsed, and Iceland's two other largest lenders, Kaupthing and Landsbanki, also skidded down the slippery slope. Defaulting as financing dried up, their combined debt 16 times the country's annual economic output. The government is still waiting on most of a $5 billion bailout pledged last year by the IMF and 4 Nordic countries. Without it, Iceland may yet go bust. Fast forward a year, and at first glance, there are surprisingly few visible signs of the banking crash. Reykjavik appears no different from any other European capital. The reality, though, is a little different. Icelanders have lost confidence in the banking system.
And they mistrust the banks, understandably. And businesses abroad are in the same situation. They ask themselves, can we trust an Icelandic bank? So our task really is to rebuild that trust.
But there's still more fallout from Iceland's economic crash. Gross domestic product is expected to shrink by 8.5% this year, contracting a further 2% in 2010. Unemployment this year will rise to 8.5%.
I think the big part that still needs to be sorted out is corporate debt and private household debt. This is still a very, very severe problem for the Icelandic economy.
Iceland is still reeling from the way it was treated by some members of the international community as it struggled to avert economic disaster. A year on, many Icelanders are still furious with Britain. Gordon Brown's government picked up part of the tab for Iceland's banking collapse, but Icelanders remain bitter that Britain used anti-terrorist legislation to seize their bank's assets in the UK. Another twist in Iceland's nightmare of a financial meltdown. A year on, its global banking ambitions a distant memory, Iceland is having to fall back on tourism, fishing and farming for its economic survival. Elliott Gotkine, Bloomberg News.